Right. Hi, everyone. I'm Jesse, and I'm a designer on the Switchboard team within the dedicated group. And today I want to share some recent design improvements that we've made to Switchboard. So, as a reminder, Switchboard is the management console for dedicated instances. It's used both by customers externally and also internally to manage changes to these and maintenance around these instances. And it really is there to provide control over infrastructure level settings, things that can't really be in the GitLab product itself. So it is completely separate as an application. So a lot of that includes things like networking, config, and security control. And today I'll be focusing on the external customer facing parts of Switchboard. So for the main jobs to be done for these customer tenant admins is what we call them. They use Switchboard for a few reasons. One is to review the status of their dedicated instance, also investigate an issue if it comes up. They need to make configuration changes and also migrate from a different system. So whether that's from self-managed or .com, or even if they're starting GitLab for the first time, they're coming from somewhere. So I'll show a few snapshots of what Switchboard looks like today, and then I'll show some work in progress design, potential future state, and then some changes we've made recently. So currently, this is the overview page, and the idea here is to show you relevant information at a glance. So for example, the status of your instance, if there are any incidents going on right now that are specific to your dedicated instance, and some high level technical information and things like that. And this is the configuration page, which is pretty much most of Switchboard. And it's essentially one big long form with all possible configuration that you can make on your instance. And when you make changes, they go into this pending state until you have a list of them, and then you can apply them all at once, or you can wait until the next maintenance window. And so every tenant has a maintenance window, and essentially that's when changes are typically made to avoid disruptions and downtime. And this is the internal view of that same configuration page. And as you can see, there's a huge amount of sections here. It can be quite overwhelming, hard to find what you need. And over time, more and more sections have been added, and we're starting to expose more sections to customers as well. And it generally is not a super scalable solution. So I want to share a few concepts that I've been exploring for how Switchboard could evolve in the future. And this is still sort of work in progress. This is one of the concepts I've been working on for a new sort of design direction, looking at the overview page. So one main thing is we want to update the nav to be more like the GitLab product. And this particular exploration was done before Project Studio came out, and so I think there'll need to be some updates based on that to kind of have a cohesive experience. And the idea here is to show more contextually relevant info, like what's going to happen in your next maintenance window, what pending changes you have, what's been going on activity-wise with your instance. And this is one way we can break up that big configuration page and big long form into smaller individual focused pages. So this example is an IP allow list, and I'll go in more detail on this and later on. But the whole idea here is to have dedicated read views and then have dedicated edit views when you want to change something. So it's easier to sort of view information, and then if you want to change it, that's its own interaction. So this follows effective UI patterns that can be found in other web console products, similar like Cloudflare, Firebase, and more. And there was a competitive evaluation that I ran and shared the results with last time I did the UX forum here. So now that's the design vision that's still evolving, as time goes on. But in the meantime, we are making a lot of changes to Switchboard, and I'll show some of them here. So these are changes that have been implemented and delivered. So for going very basic here, the whole like login flow for Switchboard, it is separate from the GitLab login for various reasons. And previously we used a third-party auth UI, which is AWS Cognito. It does not provide a lot of customization. It doesn't look the best. And in order to support password reset, which is something that is currently done or was done manually through support tickets, we needed to build our own auth UI, and this was an opportunity to make some UX improvements as well. So one of which is we have automatic SSO detection by email. So if you enter your email and it's SSO, we redirect you there. Or if it's email and password, which is another option, we show the password. And so the flow goes like that. There are fewer steps overall. So before we had sort of a landing page with a login button, and then that took you to what you see on the left there to that login flow, and then you're redirected back to Switchboard. So now it's one less step. And just overall, it's a bit more of a cleaner design. So these are some of the steps in the account setup and password reset flow. Again, this was all done in the AWS Cognito before. And previously, yeah, we had to perform password resets through support, which is not sustainable and not a great customer experience. And so now they can do that themselves. So we're getting a lot of the basics here, but it's good that we have it. Another change we made here is to allow self-serve changes to contact information. So previously customers, they couldn't view or edit what we call operational email addresses. They were internal only. So again, they had to go through support to even figure out what they were or change them. And so now that ability is now available to the customer side. And also shown here is sort of the idea of moving away from everything being a form, but moving towards read-only views and having edit interactions. It's a little bit more easy to find what you're looking for and make changes. So now I'll show some changes that are under development. So I think the design is mostly done and it's being built right now. So one major one is the IP allow list. And so this is essentially a way for you to restrict access to your particular instance to certain IP addresses and ranges for security reasons. So I think a lot of our dedicated customers use this. And the current way you can configure this in Switchboard is very basic. As you can see, it's pretty much just a long form of text inputs, and it's really painful to add hundreds of items, which is actually a common use case for our customers. And so they've been asking for a more efficient way to do that. And now we're building a dedicated page to sort of hold the IP allow list and have all the interactions for it. So again, we're moving away from everything being a form to having more of these read and edit views. And just going into some more detail of how it'll work in the future. You can add or edit in the drawer. Again, with the new Project Studio, I think this will eventually be, we might adopt probably some of the similar patterns there, but this is how it is currently. And we also have an import mechanism where you can import from a CSV file, or you can paste it in. And so this is to solve that use case of bringing in, let's say, 300 IP addresses, which are maybe stored somewhere outside of Switchboard as a source of truth. And so you can bring them in through this flow, and you can preview the changes that are going to be made because it is potentially sensitive. You don't want to accidentally allow the wrong IPs to access your instance. So there's a preview you can do here to just double check what's going to happen. Another change currently that's under development is what's called inbound private link. And this will allow users to set up connections to their other services, to their dedicated instance. So if they had self-managed before, they have full control over all the networking settings. But this is now a way that they can, through AWS private link, it's just a way to basically make connections securely outside the public internet. And this is possible to do today, but you have to manually go through a support ticket and kind of go through this long, arduous process. And so we're introducing just the ability to set this up yourself. So that's sort of a common theme across Switchboard is we're just introducing a lot more things to be able to do yourself as we scale. So now users can set up these connections to their primary or secondary region. And again, this is following that pattern of having a dedicated subpage and then having read views and edit interactions. And then all the endpoint services would be listed sort of at the parent level. And then users can connect to these once they're all set up. And so that will reduce a lot of effort and toil on our teams and dedicated, and they can self-serve this. So now I'll go through the design for a new feature that's currently in the design process and still being worked on. So customers have been asking for some type of status page for a very long time. And we're about to launch a very basic version of this that just has an overall status of your entire instance, whether it's okay, has an issue, or it's down. And this next iteration that you're seeing here is breaking it down by different service. So this is the goal is to be more similar to what you'll see on status.gitlab.com. That only shows things for .com. It does not show, incidents that are happening on your specific instance in dedicated. And so in Switchboard, you'll be able to see that now. And it'll be broken down by service in a similar way. So if there's an incident going on, you can see what actual user impact it is, and also see updates for the incident as time goes on. Again, similar to status.gitlab.com. So you can look into the details of the incident and see what's affected and updates over time here. And we can also, we're looking into showing incident history. Again, just trying to get to parity with status.gitlab.com. And the reason that this is being done in Switchboard is for security reasons. Some customers don't even want people to know they're on dedicated, and it could potentially be sensitive if it's exposed that their instance is down in a certain way. And so this is a bit more tightly guarded. So yeah, overall, this work is still currently in flux, and we're starting to test it with users. The first session is tomorrow, actually. So yeah, that's a sort of rapid fire overview of what's been going on in the world of Switchboard and the design updates there. Still working through sort of that longer term design vision, but work has sort of been happening at the same time. So yeah, that's a bit of an overview there. So thanks for listening, and happy to take any questions if there are any.
Chad, it looks like you have the first comment.
Sure. So a lot of really nice consistency improvements here. There's a lot of like instantly recognizable patterns from the user-facing app in these designs. What this brings up for me is like I think we need to better support patterns like those in pajamas in the code. Because right now, like a lot of those patterns are manually built in the GitLab app, or they might be like in the GitLab app's view shared folder, so they can be reused within the app, but none of that's accessible to Switchboard. I imagine your devs are like essentially rebuilding a lot of these patterns from atomic components right now, which is kind of too bad. Like things like the left nav, the login experience, like the CRUD component. It's incidental to the work you're doing here. I think it's really nice improvements, but it's too bad that we don't have like the ability for the developers to just go, oh, great, just plug that in and we'll use this thing.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a spot on point. I think it's starting to maybe expose where we don't have a pajamas component for something, but it hasn't been an issue because it's in like the view shared, and it's in the main GitLab app. And now that we're starting to do a lot more changes in Switchboard, yeah, I think it's becoming more apparent. Like one example is the CRUD component, as it's been called. I know we're actively working on making that a component and in the design system, and so Yeah, there is some, unfortunately, some manual work being done by our devs to kind of recreate some of these things. And so, as we kind of encounter these things, definitely like trying to bring them up and hopefully, we can add them to the design system so that we can just reuse, a lot of the work that we've done. Yeah, I see. Okay, yeah, I see you've added the CRUD component, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this all these changes with Project Studio shake out because I know there's kind of a lot in flux right now, and I'm starting to kind of work on the nav of Switchboard, and I think we definitely want there to be a level of consistency there, but I know things are fast moving, so it might be kind of impossible to stay perfectly in sync.
I have the next comment, which I didn't finish typing, so if somebody could help there. But I just wanted to say, Jesse, amazing job with these improvements. I remember the first time that you were showing what Switchboard looked like and the amount of improvements you've made since then, and it's awesome. It's also great to see that you're moving towards a UX vision, and you may have explained this, so sorry if I missed it, but how did you go about collaborating with product on getting like the buy-in to move towards that vision?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It's interesting because even before I came into the team, it's been kind of something on the list of we want to do like a configuration redesign. And I think everyone kind of knows there were problems and it's just kind of, how it was. And it was kind of difficult to get that prioritized, I think like described like that configuration redesign. I think that kind of spooks a lot of people. It sounds really big. It sounds like it's just about look and feel when it is a lot more than that. So I think one thing that's helped is like breaking it down into smaller pieces, and just when I'm talking with product, one thing I try to do is like, okay, it would be helpful to do some type of exploration or vision, and that doesn't mean we need to go build that in the next quarter. Um, but if we can kind of get some alignment on that, that means we can make decisions in the near term and do smaller iterations to kind of get to there. Because I found without having something like that design vision, we were just sort of making decisions right when they came up, and we're not sort of quite sure what it's all building towards. So I think that's definitely been helpful, and I think product in my case, my PM is really supportive as well, so that helps.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for explaining that. That's great. It's great that that you're both on the same page and that you're able to have input on the vision there. So, thank you.
Yeah, totally.
Let's end of questions in the agenda. Does anybody have anything they want to vocalize? All right, looks like that wraps it up. Thanks so much, Jesse, for presenting.